So we've all heard that phrase, death by 1,000 paper cuts, right? Where basically a bunch of little things to be the demise of something bigger. So I guess we're calling today's episode Health by 1,000 Band-Aids. So I guess what I'm saying is, in the last startup episode, a bunch of you guys gave me a bunch of really good comments, and I suspect that I've got more than one problem that I'm fighting. So today is all about, let's just go ahead and address a bunch of little things, and hopefully that pays some dividends for me long term when it comes time to trying this again. But hey, if this is your first time here, my name's Grant Tommy, this is Straight Six Fan. My goal is helping you build your hot rod and your confidence without a ton of money. Right now, I'm on my way to my local O'Reilly's to pick up right where we left off from last Wednesday's upload. And if you didn't make it all the way to the very end, well, I deleted the smog pump in last week's episode. That in turn forced me to create a new sleeve for my alternator bracket. And that then, of course, means driving one less accessory. I need to pick up a new belt for my alternator. As many starts as we've had to try to do on Project Fairmont, I don't want to start it up again without the alternator hooked up because we're draining the battery enough as it is. So that's what we're doing, and it's kind of a response to vacuum leaks, vacuum leaks, vacuum leaks. That was kind of a resounding comment I got after my upload last week. And while I did test for them in last week's upload, maybe it was a half-assed effort, I don't know. I guess I'm just kind of taking the approach of, well, why don't I just eliminate things that I can live without? Smog pump being one. And later this episode, hopefully, we're looking at how to block off parts of the EGR as well. One of the things we did figure out over the course of the last week was, in fact, my power valve is junk. Thanks in part to Junkyard Diggs for video chatting with me. He helped me diagnose and confirm that the power valve was in fact bad. And I can tell you why. And that's because I had used, as you guys know, I had two 2150s, the one that originally came on the car, and then I bought a bigger CFM one from an AMC Jeep. The AMC Jeep one is the one I rebuilt, and that one had a dual stage power valve on it, and because of the deeper valve cover for the power valve, I was afraid of it hitting the EGR plate and things just not messing out, so I converted it to the single power valve and used those parts off of my old carburetor. But as you can see where that's going, old parts, old power valve. The old power valve was past its life cycle. That's why I was dumping tons and tons of fuel into the motor, because I had a bad power valve. Like I said, this is why I'm calling the episode Health by 1,000 Band-Aids, because I think there are just multiple things wrong, and while I don't know that the carburetor issue is going to be 100% fixing all of the idle issues and the way the vacuum gauge was jumping. In last week's episode, it needed to be fixed regardless. So, anyway, and I wouldn't dare start the car without this alternator on. So, we got that fixed. And we've got itself a dedicated belt, and that feels good. So one other thing Junkyard Diggs helped me figure out between the old 2150 and the new 2150. Again, here's the dual stage power valve. Single stage right here would be flat. Down here, well, these of course rely on some form of vacuum to operate, and you'll notice here there's this, like, see if we can get that to focus, a transfer slot that goes into the carb body, which will pick up a little bit of manifold vacuum, or vacuum from the intake manifold side of things, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Whereas on 2150 over here, the Jeep one, the new one, this quote-unquote slot is actually just an indentation that's solid, that doesn't actually go through the body. So that leads me to believe that this little nipple on the dual stage power valve cover is what's pulling the vacuum. So this would have been a fatal flaw, having the single stage power valve in here, which actually had nothing ever pulling on it, operating it the way it wants to. So again, bad gasket most likely, bad power valve most likely, and no vacuum source. So anyway, I have a new gasket on my power valve actually, which is a lot like this one, that it has 3 tabs that set inside it, but I've been told that I need to yank this new power valve back off, because sometimes these have like a little ridge in the power valve on this side, like a little ridge, and you want a gasket to live inside the ridge. Oh, and look, here's what Kevin talked about in his Bronco video. The gasket you can see is shearing right down the middle on this one. But anyway, I'm going to back this back off just to double check and make sure this power valve doesn't have one of those ridges. So there is no ridge or lip on this power valve, so no big deal. This was a brand new gasket, but I yanked it off now, and it's probably no good, but that's okay because I got another one on the way. And there's also some other people out there who suggest actually putting like an O-ring on here, and I may hunt one of those down instead. So another potential problem I could be facing is anywhere along the EGR valve, we could be, maybe we've got a bad gasket here, maybe the diaphragm is leaking. Anywhere along here we could have some sort of a leak. So we're just going to go ahead and disconnect the vacuum line, and we're going to cap off. It's, well, remember the green hose is the one I'm going to cap off. We'll cap that off, and we're going to pull the whole EGR assembly off and see how we might be able to block that off. With the EGR plate off, one other thing we're going to do here before we start dorking around with the EGR plate is clean out the, just your valve cover breather. Blanking on the technical name, but it's kind of goobered up inside. So we're going to hit that with a little bit of carb cleaner, and I know that's one of the things that can throw some stuff off ever so slightly, and I mean, while we're at it, just as well do it. We've talked eliminating vacuum leaks by getting rid of the smog pump, by blocking off the EGR valve. We're down to 4 vacuum lines now. One for that power valve, one for my brake booster, one for vacuum advanced timing, and then the 4th, I think, just kind of pulls air to help suck things into my charcoal canister. So anyway, that should reduce the amount of potential failures I could have. We also talked about carb issues that we know for sure we had. And then the final thing that was being recommended in last week's episode, again, if you haven't seen that, up over here, go check that out, was maybe my vacuum gauge wasn't given a great reading because I didn't have enough back pressure. With just the Y pipe as it is, people were recommending me throw my muffler on. Well, for me to throw my muffler on, I actually have to take the Y pipe out because I just tack welded at the end of the Y pipe that 2 1/4 to 2.5 inch pipe fitting. So I need, then the thought process there was so that the exhaust shop that I take it to could take it off and manipulate it as they need to when they mock up the rest of the exhaust. Well, anyway, just now if I want to throw a muffler on, I would have an exhaust leak there if I don't do this. Anyway, this is going to be a boring video for me to put the car back up on jack stands to get the Y pipe out, run a string line on that Y pipe intersection to where I think the muffler wants to reside. So all that's, it's going to be a lot of work for not a lot of entertainment, so I'm going to spare you guys that. But I did also want to take a moment to give a special shout out to Weird Beard Auto Sales, who helped me make that final jump to crest 2,000 subscribers last week. It was a huge help. Great guy. So if you have no idea who that is, I'm going to leave an info card up over here to his channel. And I encourage you guys, if you were one of my followers for a long time, go give him an opportunity for your subscription. So if you want to get caught up on how I got to this point on Project Low Fairmont, well, I will leave some videos over here and you can go check those out. Otherwise, like, comment, share, subscribe. I don't care which one you do, as long as you do one, it really helps out. That's going to do it for this episode. Until next time, peace out.